Hello and welcome to Black Road Gaming for another episode of Adeptus Custodes, and it's been a little while. It's been a while. I haven't done this in a while, and I've actually got a guest with me. And this actual particular guest is Lee Zag. Sorry if I butchered that, Lee. Who is actually one of the moderators of the Adeptus Custodes Discord that I have through Black Road Gaming. You've been with me, one of the first, I think, to join, weren't you? Or at least in the first 100.
I mean, I've been with you since probably the end of last year sometime, probably September-ish, I bet.
Yeah, so I think
shortly after that.
Yeah, you've been moderating, looking after it for a while, and we've all kind of. It's a bit of a love child in the sense we've grown this massive community. We sit there and we talk about obviously Adeptus Custodes, and it's pretty active. Like, what's the number now? Like almost 500? Are we over 500 members now?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Last I checked, we were at 475. Which is, as far as a little Discord goes, for just talking about Adeptus Custodes, that's a lot of people. I think it's a lot. It's a lot of people. It keeps you busy anyway. And as well as the other mods. But anyway, before we get into it, let's talk about some of our wonderful sponsors. You can see I'm sponsored by Glasshammer, Terrain Forge, and Trident Futurework. All of the links to those are going to be in the comments in our Linktree, and in the Linktree will also be a link to the wonderful Discord that me and Lee look after. So come join the fun. Get to see more of Lee's wonderful ideas. And the reason Lee is joining me today, and he should have probably been on here a lot sooner than this, is because Lee went off and beat the meta with Adeptus Custodes, folks. And you didn't just beat the meta, did you, Lee? Let's be honest. You beat the meta, and what did you get for your troubles?
I got a golden ticket.
Which you passed on.
Which I did. I chose not to accept it, which apparently is incredibly rare.
Yeah. When you put that you didn't accept it, I saw that in the chat. I was like, huh. Fair enough. But if you can't go to the event, what
I mean, I could, but I mean, I actually, it'll come up. My rationale was kind of interesting. I only play a couple times a month. I play a mostly casual shop. I do a lot of theory crafting. I spend a lot of time talking to you guys. But I don't know if I don't think I could do a world's trip justice, put in my 2 or 3 games a week and really hammer down into it. Plus, I'm spending the 2 weekends right before it out of the country. And I wasn't going to play any 40K like 2 weeks before going.
Oh, okay. So you're worried about ring rust?
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Adeptus Custodes ring rust. I mean, a lot changes in that time. What I love, and we're going to talk about your list in a minute, is that you've there's going to be people like you all over the world who randomly do well at events with the Adeptus Custodes. And we talk about this a lot, that actually, if the terrain works and you've got the right wind path and you go off meta enough, actually it can work. And the next thing you know, you're winning events. How many people were at this event?
This was only 42.
42. That's still, you're still going to have a good competition there. And you've done very, very well. 5-0, I assume, to go all the way to top with Adeptus Custodes, who, they're in a tough spot. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So a lot of people, when they watch this video, they do kind of go, oh, that we talk about meta a lot, and I don't like to get that confused. So what is the meta? So the meta is a term known as the meta game. It refers to the current state of competitive game. Okay, so where we're at this moment, my God, do we need a data slate? This consistently changes every 3 months as new rules and points for the game get updates. I don't know about you, Lee, but I'm really looking forward to the updates. I am. This is quite possibly one of the most toxic and boring metas.
Incredibly toxic.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. And that's not even just to play on the fact that Death Guard are toxic. It is just literally, it's just not that fun. But then you've come along and shown a bit of a light. So much so that we're running Black Road Gaming, are running our first ever GT this weekend. And one of the people who are coming is copying your list. And he had no idea that we knew each other. He had no idea that we were associated in any way. And he sent that to me. I was like, Yeah, that's just a list that my friend Lee on the Discord ran it, and he was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, he took that. We're going to talk about that on the and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I really like it, but I think because of UKTC, I'm going to have to change it." And I'll tell you some of the changes that he's made and see what you think.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. This could refer to obviously strong armies, list builds, or particular strategy. For example, fast-moving armies with lots of scoring units. This is the meta. The meta shifts. And the Adeptus Custodes meta, I've been beating on for a while that actually probably the main way to play it is if you want to do safely well, is the 15 Wardens, couple tanks. That Folger piloted it. I use that all the time. Like I still consistently am doing all right with it. Albeit I've avoided events recently simply because of the horrendous meta that we're in. But Lee thought, nah, fuck it. I'm going to go and I'm going to run something completely different. And this was Lee's fuck it list. So, actually, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. We're going to talk about the win rate. So we had a bit of a conversation about this, Lee, didn't we? And I think you said that, what was it? What did you mentioned about the win rate at the current state?
Then it's 44, but I think the 9-week average for us in the new slate is like 46%. And we've been dropping the last couple since Knights became dominant as well.
And if we take out the GW terrain, doesn't it like drop to below 40? I read in the Meta Monday article that there was a point that he made that without GW tournaments, we go to 38%.
And this week, I bet, yeah.
Which is, oof, that's bad.
That's painful, and I can tell you it's painful on GW terrain as well.
Yeah,
it's less painful.
I mean, we've got an interesting show because we're gonna look at your list, and then I said to Lee, I was like, look, one of the things that bugs me about our Discord and the conversations that we see in the mode is the conversation that people maybe don't quite realize the difference between GW terrain and UKTC terrain. And the reason we talk about the US and the UK and about the meta is because it's probably the two places that have the most tournaments out there. Yes, I'm aware France has just gone and won WTC, and yes, they've done amazing. However, the UK probably has the most tournaments per couple hours. There's every weekend there's several tournaments going on. You can travel an hour and a half to get to one. And I think the US, because of its scale, you have like a huge number of events going on as well, right? So, and use obviously distinctively GW terrain, and in the UK we are UKTC terrain, which is really interesting because obviously we are the home of Games Workshop.
But back before Games Workshop actually supported and fostered the tournament scene, you guys, when as a circuit took it upon yourselves to define and actually support competitive play.
Well, exactly that. Thank God to Zach, because Zach is the person who started this whole train. He now literally runs a super major every single month all over the country. And he runs the largest team events. You're going to team events where there's 700 players, which is wild.
That's huge. That's wild.
Yeah. Like, where can you go to get that much? So when a lot of the time we see Meta Monday, the biggest events are all pretty much happening in the UK. And it is great to go to, but it is also a shark tank. Sometimes you could like rock up to your local GT where it might be like 40 people, and you could have 10 of the top 10 players in the UK just like rocking up there just for reps.
It's funny you say that. South Central Florida is a shark tank, as funny as it is. So
have you got the Art of War guys near you as well?
Yeah. So like we've seen tournaments where almost 15% of the players in them, a 40-person small GT, 6 of them are Art of War.
Yeah. See,
when you walk up and you're like, well, that's gonna be painful. And then what you don't realize is we have a ton of people who qualify for Worlds that are really skilled people that be winning GTs on the regular in other places in the country. and they're consistently mid single digits or low single digits in placings. Like they're very good people who, I mean, when
I
like
feel like
sometimes it's
you got to go out
fifth
and
or
just
sixth in the tournament's the one that gets the golden ticket because everyone else has one already.
you need to be going slightly onto the other side of the country now, man, to go get your easier wins.
We actually have people that will travel out of our area and head north somewhere to a smaller GT just to go win their ticket.
Yeah, well, this is it's insane. We find it in certain parts of England as well, because we're so small, you just can't get away from it. So you end up really getting to know everyone really well. So it's really not, if you go to a super major, you're probably guaranteed to get the top 200 people in the UK turn up. So so you're always going to have like high quality, and then because obviously we all play TTS against each other, so it's just like it's very, very incestuous actually.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
well, you know what they say about us Brits. Not only have we got great teeth, shiny foreheads, we also swim good. Anyway, moving on. So at the current meta, the stats are at 44%. So we're at a low point. So Adeptus Custodes players, be happy in the knowledge that we are probably going to get buffed come the slate. And if we don't get buffed, everything else will probably get nuked into oblivion around us to bring us back up
I thought you were
slightly.
going to say it was going to be my fault.
But if nothing happens, then it is all Lee Zag's fault. So if you want to push the poo through the mailbox, that's the man to go for. There he is. Remember that face. Right, shall we have a look at your list?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because you took some weird shit, let's be honest.
I always run weird shit and I make it work, but this was particularly weird.
Yeah, you were trying really hard to run the detachment that like nobody even cares about.
I pulled a strong 3-2 with Orc Champions at a GT and I beat Mordaka twice at their peak pre-nerf in that tournament.
Which is impressive to be fair, because that detachment is hot garbage.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It's Lee, it still is. You're like the Null Maiden hero. The guy that like managed to go to some random event and win with Null Maiden.
I was pulling earlier in the season. I was pulling 3-2 with dual land raiders.
Oh, don't say that, because our other mod Jake is obsessed with the idea of like running land raiders, and I keep telling him you can't do that where I play 40k, and you
can't do it on UKTC terrain. No, you can barely do it on GW. Not into this meta. It'd be really
he is going to die on that hill. But anyway, let's talk about your list. Lee, it is over to you. Talk us through it. What makes this tick?
Sure. Perfect. So at first you're gonna be like, there's not a lot of units, and my brain likes things in pairs as well. So I pretty much have pairs of everything. I like my redundancy. I've got one of the Alara shield caps with the Adana Mortis axe, right? That big flat 4 is huge. He's gonna join one of my 3 Alaras. That is pretty much going to start in reserves and be my rapid ingress threat. There are some cases they might start on the board if I'm actually facing someone that can rush me. You might see them on the board, but that's pretty much default living out in the sky, waiting to drop down and rain some death on people. I've got the Superior Creation Alaris. Now, unlike most people, he's running solo.
I was going to ask. I would run him solo too.
He's just an annoying bastard. You'll see him just advance out onto center and be like, can you kill me twice in one turn? and by the way, if you come up and charge me, you're going to get charged by bikes, and they're going to use that to bounce somewhere you don't want them. So what you going to do about me? That's what he's there for. I love him. He's great. I've got a bike shield captain. He's got Fierce Conqueror, mainly because I had 15 points, and Fierce Conqueror is actually quite a bit better than people give it credit for. There are ways you can charge him where all of a sudden he's got 6 extra attacks, and when that bike squad drops 27 attacks instead of 21 attacks on the charge, it makes a big difference. It's fun. You just charge them off to the side. You pick up 5 models in a different unit you're not even engaged with, and throw 2 extra attacks against the thing you matter. I had 15 points. way better than adding a 5th Witch Seeker to a
Yeah,
squad. But I
exactly.
mean,
You
way better.
yeah, I completely get it, and I suppose as well with the bike captain ability to be able to attack, bounce off, go somewhere else. I thought because I use that obviously in my list a lot with my bike
Mhm.
captain. I have got some questions for you about this list about how maybe how I would probably wonder if you'd change it, but I love it so far. Keep going.
Yeah, and as you just alluded to, that bike captain bounce move, that is my bread and butter. I
Yeah,
was running bikes back when they were bad, making them work, and I was probably the only person in the competitive Custodes world telling you that, hey, this bike captain in a squad of bikes is actually good. And then
yeah.
GW
I
went
was saying
and
they were good action monkeys. I
you
was
you
used.
you were using for action monkeys. I was using them as actually damage dealers and that bounce move just to do like I was doing crazy things with them. I'm like, no, people, you don't understand. You move 12, you charge 7, you pile in, you consolidate onto an objective because you wiped them, and then you bounce 12 inches somewhere else. That unit moved 30 inches that turn.
Mm.
No opponent's game plans factor that in. No one does. And when you actually pull it off, like you can do some wild stuff on the table. And I'll talk about some of the ways I use both of my bike captains with their big squads of bikes in my games that was very successful for me. Then one naked bike captain. Both of those are with a full squad of bikes. I'm running salvos on all of them because my army has almost no ranged, no actual ranged anti tank or threat at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I find that the salvos really help me fill that need, especially when I can proc that +1 to wound. And honestly, if I debuff myself, which I tend to do all the time, those salvo launchers being twin linked still punch up into everything, and you still land half your wounds on most stuff. So it's super useful. I've got 2 squads of Witch Seekers. Usually that means one's chilling at home, one is going for one of the expansions and just kind of being fodder or helping me screen where I need it. I've got the Custodes Assassin, and I've got Canis Rex. So when I think about my list, there are two big things. Two big things about it that people need to realize. One is this list is vastly more mobile than people think it is. Between the quick bikes, the bounce move, the fact I can reload it in lines, those bikes scream around the table. I've got one Alara squad that is guaranteed to rapid ingress and cause you trouble. Probably going to cost me no CP when he does it because of the shield captain. Those Alara bricks got uppy downy, and I've got the ability to unleash the lions on them. Those Witch Seekers have scout. I mean, they're super fast. I also do have Canis Rex. I actually didn't call him in there. He doesn't have movement shenanigans unless moving through walls counts. But the second tier is where he leads into is this army is really a bastard when it comes to CP. I've got a lot of it and you have less. Because I'm going to vect you with that assassin. I'm going to make sure she's not running around scoring. Not really, not for me. She's running around and I put her in a place where you wanted to use CP and you can't. You are not going to get CP rerolls on charges or in the fight phase. You are not going to pop off some of those strats. You are not going to interrupt me where I don't want you to. Like
Mm.
she is going to make your life miserable. Canis, 1 CP per turn with a T. That's just wild amount of extra CP. And then I've got 4 shield captains to proc that once per battle round extra CP or that CP reduction. So my list has a bunch of CP, and I'm going to make damn sure my opponent has less.
I like the fact that so when I looked at this, I was like, okay, all the captains are really cool because you've got probably got the best captain abilities there. They are all good, and you're making use of that. You've got your really tough, and I suppose when people look at this, I'd be like, well, you haven't got that many units. And I did wonder, could you arguably drop the Virtus Praetors to 3 units of 2? And then just have a spare 2 to go off and do something else. I don't think that makes the list worse. I don't think it actually makes it better either. But
I call that a net neutral. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's just maybe that's just a play style. Like if you like to have the MSU
Sure.
style, I think what you do lose potentially there is some redundancy. Like you're not going to reliably kill like you would do with the others.
You can't roll in and pick something up as often as you think you would. I
No.
would also argue it makes it a little bit harder to proc your buff as well for lions. It gets a
Yes.
little bit trickier. Every extra unit makes that tougher.
That's right. And I'm assuming with the with the Canis Rex, you're staging him centrally.
Usually, it really depends on the game, and I can talk about that in the different ones because there's
Mm,
games where his role is just a little different. There's times where he's kind of actually taking a little bit more of a flank and just going to hold a flank. It really depends on what my opponent has and what I'm really trying to do with him.
I see what you want to achieve.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
let's.
there was games where he ended the game sitting on the middle objective, just wreck and shop. There were games where he flanked and baited, and I can talk about what I did with him in a couple of those.
Yeah, we. I think Canis Rex is one of those. He's been in and out of Custode lists for a while now, hasn't he? Like people have flirted with him for a while, and I think I do see the appeal.
Yeah, I mean, for me he was in a night meta. The plan for bringing him was in a night meta. I get to just counter punch a knight to death, and my opponent has to be really worried about which of their big knights come at me is going to die. Because
This is
Canis
true.
is just going to be my counter threat for that. That was one like I want him. I'm going to bring him in at 380 points. It was really hard for me to find anything else that can one shot a knight. Because I'm like, what happens if 6 bigs at Chaos come rocking up?
So the one thing I'm not worried about in the current meta is knights as an Adeptus Custodes player. I think actually because we have access to lethals and we get so many attacks in combat, and
Yep.
we have the tanks. I think actually we're one of the few armies that are a really good place to deal with knights
It
still.
takes 4 tank activations to lift a big on average.
Yeah, but
I mean,
you only want one tank to wound it to take 5 wounds
well,
to then charge a brick in and then
fair.
pick.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, fair.
if you're relying on your tanks to pick something up, then you're not playing your custodians properly. Because
Fair.
you know me,
And honestly,
I like to yeet, man. Get it all up the.
yeah, and I mean, also Canis, another source of flat 4. Really, the custodians in general lack D3 and above in a lot of cases. It's really hard to find. My army solves that between the bike salvo launchers, the Andamotor set flat 4,
Yeah,
Canis at
yeah.
flat 4 shooting, and his big old flat 9 and flat 3 melee.
It does
And
do a lot of damage, but you
it
feel
does.
every
It
unit you
helps.
lose.
Yeah, and so I mean that's my list, and you can kind of see where I'm going at with it.
It's
I
cool.
was much more worried about knights. Ironically, in the GT, I faced a whopping 0 knights.
But then everybody else who faced you got to appreciate your knight.
They did, and honestly, when in a meta tech for knights, having just one sometimes feels like a liability.
All of a sudden becomes a big target.
It is a very big target, yeah, for
So
sure.
your round one. So what we've done, folks, people working at home, and I asked Lee to do a little bit of research. One thing we find in our Discord is that people may not understand the big difference between GW terrain and UKTC terrain. Now you can see that is your round one map, am I right? And you played that in Search and Destroy, so that was quarters.
Correct.
So this would have been if you went to a UKTC tournament, what your round one would have looked like, and we can see why the difference in lists exists here. Now I'm going to pass this back over to yourself, Lee, to kind of talk you through what happened in your round one, and maybe how you would have tackled this if you would have gone into a UKTC.
Right. Yeah. So I'll talk about what I had round one. Round one, Clay was my opponent. Super good guy running Eldari. Our tournament had 9 Eldari players out of our 42, and they were teched against knights. They were dialed up to 11, which means they're also pretty well spec'd into Custodes. I think Clay was probably, of all of the lists, like for me particularly, he was probably the best of the Eldari for me to run into. He only had 2 small units of fire dragons. He had the Avatar, and he had 3x5 Dark Reapers. Now, if you're running guard or warden spam, those Dark Reapers are a lot more concerning for you. But all my models are 4 wounds and 5 wounds. So they have to get 2 through, not 1, to lift a model in most cases. So actually, pound for pound, my army is a little more resilient against the Dark Reapers than others. I am a little less resilient against those Meltas on the Fire Dragons and others. And with Melta 3, I really don't like Melta range. So this was Search and Destroy. It was Linchpin. it's Eldari. I'm looking at this board and I'm like, okay, I can generally stage Canis kind of up at the top of my deployment zone. He also had a couple of fire prisms for his ranged AT, which is kind of interesting. Flat six, just my bikes do not love that. Canis, it doesn't necessarily love it either, but it was reasonable. So Canis kind of deployed up north as far as he could, out of line of sight. My bikes were mostly staged. I think one was up north as well, kind of behind Canis. One was behind that big ruins, kind of along the right side of my deployment zone. I had some Witch Seekers in the back. I had some Alaris, staged to do their thing. I went first. Spoiler: I went first all 5 rounds of this tournament. Wow. It was pretty much a running joke by the end of it. I don't generally like going first. Ironically, I had a lower average win rate going first. And I ended up going first every single round of this tournament. And basically I had pretty much sealed a W pretty quickly in this one. My opponent was a good guy. He threw one of the warlocks on bike out onto the center for, I think, to score an area denial or something along those lines. And he had some rangers that he kind of baited me out by that 4x6 2-inch ruin there. And they have their reactive move when you get near them. So I moved some Terminators out to threaten him. He actually moved back. It allowed my bikes to move up. He gave me a charge target with the bikes. I was able to move 12. I charged in. I piled in a little further. I'm actually charged to the far side of his Rangers. And then I was within 10 inches of a little L move of fire dragons he had in that 5x10 ruin that were kind of hanging right behind the actual terrain itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that squad of bikes overkilled, zoomed up, flew over and back a little, landed 1 inch away from those fire dragons, dropped, I think, 6 mortals on 5 fire dragons, which is 5 dead fire dragons. So what he was trying to bait me out in the open and get my Terminators to charge and be out in the middle turned into a bike move that just accelerated over and removed one of the 2 biggest threats against me. By turn 2, Canis had charged and locked into had killed his Banshees because he had lined them against the ruin wall and that big 6x12 on the north there. He had lined the wall with them, trying to protect against my Alaris and my bikes. It was Canis that rolled in, and Canis doesn't really care about Banshees.
No.
Not after a tank shot either. So, and then I basically put him up there. It meant that he was going to roll out and nuke Canis with the fire dragons, 5 fire dragons, not enough to guarantee it. He made sure the avatar was there as well. And at that point in time, I also I was a little cheeky and dropped my, without even a rapid ingress, I actually just dropped in my 3 Alaris with the Adana Mortis captain in that bottom right, because he had Lycus and spiders chilling behind that 4x6. I dropped in with line of sight to him, +1 to wound, reroll to wounds. I was able to drop Lycus down to like 2 wounds, killed the spiders with her, and at that point he was just starting to run out of
assets.
But after turn 2, so much of his army was dead. We were playing on the edges of his deployment zone. That was pretty much all she wrote. And great opponent, but as soon as I killed the things that could reasonably kill me, I had enough mobility and killing power left that we ended the game with the avatar unwounded, standing on the center objective.
Right.
Every other one of his models was dead.
So you got through that relatively unscathed.
Yeah, it was. When I was able to drop those fire dragons, I removed the threats, and it kind of snowballed.
So Search and Destroy, I always think, is one of our more favorable deployments because we can go so close to the middle. We can get we can move quite a lot, and that's where your bikes would have been absolutely amazing on that deployment and on that map, because there's so many places for you to stage reliably and move through.
And he gave me 2 targets, both the Warlock and the Rangers, for bikes. So I had bikes that were basically lined up against his wall up north. At the
ready
at the
to
bottom
rock,
at the end of top of 2, I have bikes sitting outside that 5x10 south, and I have bikes sitting behind that 6x12 on his deployment line, basically. So I
Nice
basically
work.
have 10. I basically have 8 bikes sitting in his deployment zone. The avatar is already poked, or the Canis is already running forward to draw attention. And then turn 2, I've already dropped Alaris behind lines, and like he's feeling just a massive amount of pressure by the top of turn 2 already.
Yeah, it definitely works. Now, how do you feel that would go into the UKTC round 1?
Ooh. So this is interesting playing sweeping engagement. My list doesn't love UKTC terrain as much. Bikes don't like as much. You have those really long ruins we can't go around. But obviously, the key staging point, I look at this and I go, that new ruin, that 3x9, which you can just fly over because it's 2-inch terrain. Staging behind that is key.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I look at some of this. You've got some big, ugly sight lines.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm looking like working bikes 18-inch advance, right? So they can probably start hidden in the bottom right. They can probably end up reasonably hidden behind that terrain piece. But it really depends where is your opponent deploying threats on this, because they've got some good sight lines. They can cross the board right on either side of the big center ruins. Like this is tougher. And playing Terraform, like you have to go hold stuff. Depending on the opponent's army, I wouldn't hate all my bikes being right behind, right in between the ruins in the middle. Make them come out, make them take their shot, draw on my rapid ingress from behind either of the covers, and like try to do something there. But this is definitely a more difficult terrain layout. The only pieces of terrain I love are those 3x9.
I mean, it's not. This is why I think the Warden bricks are so used.
Yep, there's a lot more play there, right? Like one of them is deployed in that bottom left ruin with a halfway decent advance. They are basically out of sight or inside that ruin on an objective on the far left, and they
That's
just
right.
become hard to shift. On the right hand side, they might be hidden 1 inch off that wall already with a decent advance and being really just brutal for your opponent to shift. So like my style does not play nearly as well on like this map for sure. I do not love this one at all. Like I could do some cheeky things with my bikes and mobility, but like I would find my Alaris a little bit tougher and slower, and it'd be harder to get them where I needed them to go.
It's really interesting just how different the maps are and how much actually more comfortable you feel in comparison to the counterpart. So the round one.
Right. So you have the ability to get in behind terrain and be blocked from line of sight by being in the terrain. We have the ability to use the footprints, but also if you look at most of those L's, we can be behind a footprint and go right over it, whether it be with a tank, whether it be with bikes. We can zoom over the edges of those 6x12s fairly reasonably. Whereas here, you're using the actual wall to physically block you, but you then can't go through it with bikes, right?
That's right.
I mean, like if you're going to be fast here, foot Venatari become a little more fun. Like there's definitely like you start thinking a little differently about how you go about mobility.
A lot of people, when they think about the Venatari, I'd probably want to start just a Venatari on the table for this type.
And this terrain, I kind of come to the same conclusion, right? Like one of my squad bikes is actually 2x3 Venatari worth of points plus a little extra that can start on the table and do a lot of the same thing.
Yeah. The only thing again is we get to that wide open. You've done your bit with your Venatari. You've been baited out. It's not hard for your opponent to get an angle to then just lift them off the table, because ultimately,
that's
very vulnerable. So we'll go on to round 2. So, which was Tipping Point, Scorched Earth. So you guys love Tipping Point. We don't have Tipping Point so much in the UK. Do you know why? Because we're all packed in like sardines. So you typically can't get around your tables this way. So you don't have that.
And so we're playing Tipping Point, but we're still playing it from far sides of the table. So you got a little reaching over. We were honestly the meta, and I believe it's because the meta is so hostile. Instead of 70 or 80 players at this event, it was only 42. It was 70-ish, in March at this same event.
Ah,
So we were actually only 2 on our big tables, not 3. So no one had the center where you couldn't get around. Saved a bunch of people's backs, but yeah, it's tipping point gets a little more interesting here.
got that
What was
massive staging point in your deployment zone.
Yeah, and layout 1 has got that. Layout 1, you have the huge ruin you can hide behind. It's very easy to get your army back there. There's 4.47 inches between those ruin edges if they're playing fully by the tournament companion. So anything that's rhino or gladiator lancer sized can go right through that gap. Questionable if plague burst crawlers can go through it or not. That kind of came up in some in some of my games. I don't think they actually should, but they barely fit based on the actual physical terrain we had. But so we got that big staging point. My bikes stage back there. At least one does. They nestle right up to that point. They're going to be a problem. Depends on the map. Sometimes the other one is down below that big 6x12, out of sight, ready to kind of push south. When on this layout, Canis was parked between the 6x12 and the 2 6x12s there. So he's kind of nestled behind the central V as close as he kind of can. It's almost impossible for anyone to get an angle on him unless they have a tank with advance, and then they're not getting enough shots to reasonably kill him. So that's usually where I'm parking him on this map, because then he just moves up and hides out of line of sight behind that V out in the center. But who am I facing after getting through one of those Eldari players that are are reasonably teched for Knights round 1? I go into an Eldari player that's teched even more to kill Knights.
So Eldari Mark II. So how did
Eldari number 2?
So how did
Awesome.
that go, Eldari number 2?
Yeah, so he was biggest threats in this army were 2x10 fire dragons with Fugan and boats. So super fast, 10 fire dragons hopping out. One of them's got Fugan. All the shenanigans Warhost can do for you with sustain and everything else. So I mean, Canis is just a dead man walking. My last opponent picked him up in 1 round. I expect Canis to just die horribly. But my opponent, without those fire dragons, my opponent has no way to kill Canis Rex.
Right.
Whatsoever. So I know when I put Canis down, my opponent is going to keep at least one of those units earmarked for Canis. Has to. So Canis ended up in his spot. One of those serpents ended up way to the north, kind of behind that big 6x12. So it could kind of shoot up behind that 6x4 and drop dragons off. So if Canis comes out and pokes his nose forward, he's dead. My opponent's worried I'm going to run Canis kind of south towards the center. So the other fire dragon, the other one I think is right between the ruins, right where opposite of where I put my Canis, and that's the Fugan one. And so he's got 2 big units. I ended up going first again. I end up stacking my entire army most of my army behind that little V. And I measure, because I know he's got star engines. The max star engines is 22-inch move in Warhost. And I was like, the back of your wave serpent doesn't clear the physical terrain, so you actually can't shoot over that 4x6. So you're going to end up behind it, you're going to end up inside. And I measured out 3, and then I measured out 6 for that unit. And I was like, okay, so if you're going to get shots on Canis, it's going to be not a whole squad, and none of it's going to be in Melta range.
Right.
I will give you that risk if you want to roll the dice. So that's where Canis lived. I had bikes in front. He could have hopped out and tried to slaughter a bunch of bikes. He ended up doing that on, I think, turn 2. He ended up actually taking that play, because I'm like, well, Canis will just sit here and and scare you for a little bit, and then obviously
Live forever.
I'll just sit here and not die.
Yeah. I'm happy with this trade.
Right. And he had a bunch of swooping hawks, a whole bunch of spiders and stuff. But I mean, we're playing Scorched Earth, and I'm like, well, if I can kill these serpents with the if I can kill the serpents with the dragons, I win the game because he can't kill me. None of my stuff is going to die to his, and I steamroll him. So I'm like, how do I take out 2 wave serpents full of fire dragons and Fukin? And I ended up plinking and hurting his 1 wave serpent that was to the north without Fukin. Hurt it a little bit. He ended up, because he can get back in his boat, right? So in Warhost, they're going to roll forward on you super, super stupid fast with vector engines. They're going to hop out. They're going to just lay death upon you. And then they're just going to hop back in their boat at the end of their turn.
And then run away again.
And then, yeah, right. And then what are you going to, you got to then kill the boat on your turn and then find a way to kill the dragons inside. Luckily, I've got a halfway decent unit for that. So, he ends up taking, I think it was turn 2, he ends up taking the bait on the bikes, which I don't want him to kill the bikes, but 10 fire dragons, none of their rerolls, 4 up invuln, wounding on 3s is not actually the best thing to kill Virtus Praetors. It's not the best unit in the world because he's not getting all of his buffs. They like going into Canis with all of their rerolls. Better. And he ended up, this is where I got a little lucky, and he ended up killing 1 bike. Usually get like 2 on average, I think the math comes out. The second bike, the damage roll came out to a 1, plus 3 is 4 damage. He's in a vect.
So he couldn't reroll
bike on 1 wound. Ooh, sweet. Love it. Better than I expected. He gets them back in the boat. I think I made him I think I made that cost him 2 because that's what my assassin's there for. But he's now got a wave serpent with 2 wounds there. And you know what's really good for that? Bikes move up, plink at something they want. They charge the wave serpent, have no problem dealing 2 wounds to it. I don't even shoot the wave serpent the whole turn. Canis ignores it. I go about my business, move Canis up because I'm pressuring now. And I charge, I kill the wave serpent, and you know what I do when I'm no longer engaged with you with 3 bikes? I fly over at the end of the fight phase. Those fire dragons you just got out of the boat, and I drop mortals on them. And so his 10 dragons, he lost the Exarch to 2 mortals on the emergency disembarkation, and then I flew over and dropped 6 mortals on him. So now he's got 3 fire dragons. That's a lot less scary.
That is a lot less scary.
He's got 3 fire dragons that he's got on the side. That's fine for me. And I ended up, this is where I then had rapid ingress a unit down below. And actually, since I was behind, I actually got a challenger card, and it was the one that lets you move a d6 inches after you shoot, and then you can still charge. So I ended up, my Alaris kind of had dropped in. They shot, they moved the extra d6. They made the 5-inch charge into his other wave serpent that had Fugan in it.
So you got given a bit of a gift from God. A gift from God there,
I didn't kill that one.
No, you don't need it to, do you?
But when you're engaged, you know what you can't do with a wave serpent? Fall back stupid far and disembark. So that meant Fugan's unit had to get out. They had to go deal with a squad of bikes. And when they're on the table, they're not, he split, and then he had to split fire into bikes here. The bikes up north, because they ended up literally right along his board edge. He had fire dragon. He moved the 3 and hid them around the corner up to the north. He used Fugans to split fire. He didn't kill all of them. I reactive moved 1 bike, took and made sure his 3 fire dragons that managed to survive had no targets.
Right.
They could no longer see the bike captain because he went like a 1 inch and a 1 inch turn, and all of a sudden he can't be seen by him anymore. And then he just killed them. And then I just went and took Eldred off his home with that captain as well, and like just rolled up and then just kind of folded his whole army as I outscored him. So again, I wiped out all of his threats against me, and then the rest of his army. It was just he was trying to score and play keep away, but everything.
I feel like if even into the UKTC round 2, that same matchup just goes exactly the same because it's on Purge to Fey, and you actually, that's like even better for you.
This layout I like on UKTC. Yeah. My army likes this layout.
Yeah,
you do not want to play me Purge on this layout.
No, this is good. So
boy, I have staging. I have those ruins I love in the center. You like, and it's a short hop, skip, and a jump for my bikes to go steal your home. Like, you just don't really want.
That's a nice one. The thing, one of the big metas in the UK though as well is that actually it's very hoardy as well. There's a lot of horde armies out there. You will hit just the awakened dynasty Necron bricks, the unkillable.
Oh, I hate that. I hate the unkillable warrior brick. I played into Danny. It was actually a loss. I paired up into him because I took a loss against a top tier player who's going to Worlds, my round 3, and then round 4 paired up into Danny, who basically pioneered that unkillable awakened list, and who ran it exclusively and is probably the most polished in the world running that damn thing. And God, is that list brutal?
Super annoying. I played it recently as well. This was just withstands a huge amount of damage.
I really can't put enough down in one turn. So if I can't snipe the characters out by positioning, I'm just going to lose that match against.
Just better to ignore it.
Other horde armies, it's not so bad because I mean those Alaris shooting can actually decimate a lot of units in the game, more than people think. Right? When you tack on +1, you've got blast weapons, you've got reroll the wounds because they got characters in those. It decimates like 20 unit GSC neophytes and stuff with characters. You just lift the whole unit with like 4 Alaris.
quite efficient.
Quite efficiently, like you just bucket of dice and they're just gone. So like that, there's some play into hordes here, but if you play some truly horde armies, obviously the list has to adjust if that becomes your meta for sure.
So we'll look at your round 3. Let's move on.
Round 3.
So round 3.
Last game of that first day.
So Crucible of Battle. So you've got your Purge of Foe game finally. You've got your from the corner to the middle sort of deployment, Crucible of Battle. Yeah. And you can see the UKTC is Search and Destroy, Hidden Supplies, where all of the objectives are out in the open. Pretty miserable.
Yeah, that one's ugly.
Yeah, no one likes this one. No one likes this one. So tell me about your third opponent. Who did you play?
So this is where I was less than thrilled when I saw the pairings come up. So some of the boogeymen running around this event were Death Guard running Trimble's Tacoma list, which is it's Mortarian's Hammer. It's ultra efficient. It's absolutely brutal. I think it's probably the strongest list in the game right now. It is just unbelievably painful to run against. It's got the 2 Lords of Contagion with Death Shroud, a 3rd Death Shroud that all drop on you turn 2. Morty's Hammer picks ones to be afflicted, so he's guaranteed to get 6-inch deep strike. It's got a couple of Mythic Blight Haulers, 3 of the Bloat Drones, 3 of the PBCs, all the Mortal Spam. It is, and then 3 of the Poxwalkers for Infiltrate and just to own the middle and cause you problems. List is brutal. I hate it. It's Trimble's list. Luckily for me, Steve Trimble is at this event running this exact list, but this is not him.
Oh, good.
I only drew Nick Herding. Nick Herding's a give or take top 100 in the US. Like he single digit the 300 and some. He was a single digit placing at 300 and some Cherokee earlier in the year. Nick's a top tier player. So I'm not running against Trimble. I'm just running against one of the 3 top tier players at the event who are running this identical list to the model. And I'm like, well, crap. It's Purge. That helps me a little bit. This is brutal. I was packed in. I kind of took the same deployment and same advance I did in the previous one. My list is like, I am way faster than a normal Custodes list. I don't think the meta Custodes list beats this army. Not well, not easily. I think it's incredibly difficult matchup for most Custodes armies. They mortal bomb you. They pin you down when you pop out. There's just an abundance of flat.
I can confirm, having played Death Guard a lot, it's not good.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
And I'm fast enough that I'm like, when I was thinking about Death Guard, how do I stop Death Shroud? Navigator doesn't do it. They just PBC him to death. Nope. So I have no way to screen 6-inch deep strike, and I have no way to keep a Navigator alive. So what do? I hoard CP and I go, well, you're going to come down. I'm going to fight on death somewhere, and I'm going to interrupt somewhere else. So let's do this.
And if they flame you or they shoot you, you've got a reactive move to make the
I do
charge.
a reactive move, so they don't really want to hit any of my targets. They're going to come down. They don't actually want to shoot anything because it's going to move, and I'm either going to move block their charge with something. It's going to be, so I blocked up. I made a little mistake, which I had Canis, I had a unit of bikes, my assassin was kind of stuck in there. I had my Immortal Lars all tucked in behind that V.
Right.
He afflicts the unit of bikes, drops him, and he's rolling against like everything. And he also afflicted my Immortal Alaris. And by the time 3 PBCs fired, well, first thing hit the bikes, he dealt mortals, he hurt stuff a little bit. The bikes, I'm like, reactive move, I got to burn up my freebie. And I move them 5 inches like into that little terrain piece, and I get them away from everyone else except the Immortal Alaris. He keeps pummeling. He ends up dealing all 7 mortal wounds, I think. Or it was like 5 mortal wounds and a 2 damage wound into the Immortal Alaris, and drops him his first life. Bottom of 1 shooting with indirect PBCs. Oh, not ideal. But luckily my bikes had advanced 5 inches further than they had would have normally moved. I ended up popping out. I picked up, I think, both Mythic Blight Haulers. I prepped for my rapid ingress. I got ready for what was going to be his drop of death. I started pressuring forward. I did what I could. And Canis is sitting kind of just north of that piece of terrain over there, and kind of moving up. So all like that upper left quadrant between the terrain pieces, Canis is kind of up in that space. I've got some bikes there.
Yeah, I see it.
And I'm just kind of moving out to go forward. I'm trying to just getting ready for the hammer to drop. That is all of these Death Shroud. He drops all 3 units of Death Shroud. They're all 3-mans, 2 Lords of Contagion. He dropped 1 into bikes further south, which were, if he didn't kill those bikes, I was going to roll up. He didn't have great shooting into them. So he was like, okay, what do I do? He dropped the 3-man with no leader, as well as the 3-man with the Yellow Lord of Contagion, to go into Canis Rex to pick him up. And then I had a horde of CP, and he ended up opting to go against the 1 unit of bikes down south because he didn't want them to interrupt, because I think that was the scarier unit for him. He didn't shoot him, and I was going to get charges probably into his tanks, into everything hidden behind the V if he didn't do that. He went there first. I fought on death. I came out okay. Mm-hmm. And then I CPU reduce on Canis, and he interrupts because he's about to die. Whether he dies to the first unit of Death Shroud or the second, Canis is about to die. I also heroically intervened with some bikes into the Death Shroud that we're going to go into.
So you just had a big cluster in the middle.
The game is more, the game could be decided against me bottom of 2 very easily. Like it is an inflection point of the game already. Canis pops off. He ends up his 5 attacks. I want to say he got 7 hits. Usually I think he averages about 6. So a little better. I think he got all 7 wounds on 2-ups, which amazing. My opponent fails 4 saves, and it goes Death Shroud, Death Shroud, Death Shroud, Lord of Contagion, all dead when it's all said and done. He wipes 1 of the 2 hammers against me. Just wipes them dead before they get to attack. And now Canis survives the second Death Shroud with like 10 wounds. And he has to kill Canis in shooting on his next turn. And Canis gets another turn to cause havoc, pushes up and makes him a target. I still have enough bikes. I'm racking up the score at this point because it's Purge the Foe. I'm out killing him. I control most of center. Most of his pox, or all of his pox, are dead. I'm making him kill me off of center. He ends up with challenger cards 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
And it was all said and done. we came down to round 5, and I ended up figuring out the way if I score all these points, he can't win. I scored all the points. Going into his turn, he scores every possible point you can in around 40K and loses the game by 1.
Wow.
So Nick Herding is great. 1 year ago at the previous onslaught, we are sitting there, round 3, the end of the day, going for see who's going to be 3-0, and it ends up being a situation where Ken, his 6 Death Company, when they all had power fists and everything, Ken's 6 Death Company kill a Storm Surge. If the answer is yes, he wins the game by 1. If the answer is no, I win the game by 3. It came down to the last rolls of the night, and I ended up eking past him at that one as well. So me and Herding, I love the guy. We have 2 of the tightest games of 40K I've ever played have been against this guy. He is a great opponent, super fun, and I'm like, you know what? Things went the way they needed to for me. Like, I don't expect to beat Death Guard. I do not expect to beat Mortarian's Hammer. My list, I think, is fast enough that I have a chance. We racked that game 10 times. I don't win 5. Maybe I win 3, and I got through it. So I'm now stoked. I'm 3-0 after day 1. I'm expecting an ugly day 2 because there's sharks running around here. I'm expecting to go into Trimble round 4. Even if I pair down, I'm probably playing into Muzeni from Art of War. And I'm just like, this is this is just gonna be a brutal start to the day. But what would I do against what would I do in the UKTC? That's so many objectives. It's not super easy to Search and Destroy again helps on this one. Bikes have a great staging point up north. You do have the ability to get behind and get some of your stuff hidden. Or honestly, like, I look at this list, and depending on what I'm running into, I don't actually care about scoring those objectives. I probably put 10 bikes behind his center, behind his center V, and just rock into as many units as I can and just cause a cluster and hope to keep him locked in his deployment zone.
So to be honest with you, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah. I look at this and I go, I got 8 bikes starting behind that corner, and that is a bunch of bikes that are hidden from basically his whole army unless he's coming out to me. And then I'm just gonna swarm into his deployment zone with bikes and then rapid ingress behind him.
Depending on how the person deployed, I would probably stage 15 wardens behind there.
Oh yeah, wardens. Sure, like wardens are literally stuck behind all of this, and they're just zoop right up that wall and ready to come through the other side on you. Like this is a brutal map to play against wardens on.
Yeah, this is a. I talk about it in my videos quite a lot, and I talk about it in Discord. You've got to be really aggressive sometimes, and you've got to know when to be aggressive. Sometimes you've got to play really passive with Custodes, but there are times where you just have to go, fuck it, and just throw everything at them. And we were talking about this before we started the video, and you're saying for this, when we talk about things hitting the wall, it's much nicer than when I was, than my view. But that's exactly the type of play you have to put in.
Yeah, exactly. Like this isn't as bad to get shot to death on, thankfully. I mean, there's a couple of sight lines, but this is one that really favors melee armies, especially infantry. Ones that can get through walls.
Yeah,
sure.
The problem, I think the big problem is that we've discovered as we've gone through these maps, there's a lot more favourable sight lines than there is for the infantry-based units, which really isn't great for Adeptus Custodi players. So you've got 1 or 2 maps, so you're gonna probably win 2 games.
Yeah, like I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable with Custodes walking up, and this is my mission and map. I'd be feeling pretty happy, depending on what was across the table. But I'd feel pretty good about that one.
But this next one, I think your opinion will rapidly change.
Mm-hmm.
Because this match,
UKTC one's just a hot mess to have to play into.
I don't think we have a game plan with your list or with the current Meta Custodes list on here.
No, like
just
at this list,
survive.
I'm trying to I'm advancing bikes out 18 from the corner to get behind the L's and get behind an L on the left there, and hopefully pressure from that way. I'm probably just giving up the center objective on this one. I probably never go for it unless it's my Immortal Alaris. He might go out there and dare them to try to shoot him enough to kill him with probably 2 shooting phases of damage equals 1. So like that's probably what I'm doing here. Is he probably just advances and runs up, damage equals 1. Dares him to shoot him to death, hopefully gets up on a 2-up, reloads, re-racks his ability, and does it again. And maybe I score points on center and force them to bring me a bike target out onto center. Because if they give me a bike target onto center and I bounce, I have a little bit of play. But like I look at this and I go, this is painful. I don't like this UKTC map at all.
No, I hate it with quite a passion. So Dawn of War, Linchpin, we both agreed that just flat bad matchup. You need RNG Jesus to give you something decent there.
Right. You need to hope that it's Emperor's Children on the other side of the table on this one or something like that.
Another combat army that just
another melee army, right? Like at that point you can play that game. But if you draw you draw
guard. Horrendous.
Guard. Like I was just gonna say, guard's the worst. The death guard list here is this. If you draw that death card list I ran into round 3 on this layout, you just lose the game. Like it's just over.
Yeah, it's not. You might as well just say GG, right? Like, it's that bad.
Good game. Yeah, it's bad.
It's not balanced at all.
Yeah, luckily for me, my round 4 was not this.
You had a lovely hammer and anvil with lots of nice stagey
hammer and anvil layout 6, and I drew, of the armies I could have possibly drawn, I draw the New Wolves, played by a great guy, Matt, and I was like, okay, he's playing on his 40k. I'm like, I am faster. He's more durable. I can hit a little harder. He's got some tricks. He has some anti-Canis tech in the Wolfen with shields and Arjac and stuff. And I was like, okay, let's play this game. I feel good about this matchup, given that I could have drawn Trimble running the list I had just played, which would have been a nightmare. I could have ran into Garrett Befaro running Trimble's list as well. I could have run into, Mike Muzzeni. There was a couple of other people that were in that bracket, and none of them are easy games. They're all top tier players. Most of them had golden tickets already. So like, I drew Matt. It's the best matchup for me. Canis kind of deployed out of my sight. He had a Vindicator. He had a Pred Annihilator, so he had a little bit of shooting. Bulk of his army, he was very termy heavy. He had a big 10-man brick of the Wolfguard Terminators.
So this is the new Space Wolves with the pre-Iron Priest nerf?
Nope. I think the Iron Priest was nerfed because he wasn't running that shenanigans.
So he was still running a Predator Annihilator, which is interesting.
Yep. I think he might have been planning for that, and I think he might have. I think he still wanted it to play into the Knights a little bit. But he had the big 10-man with Arjac, which, my God, those models are incredibly tough with 4 wounds, -1 to wound, and 34 points a pop. Wow. Painful. And then he had another 5-man Termies with Logan. He had some head takers and an impulsor. He had the big Wolfen brick, some scouts, all that fun stuff. I deployed, ended up going first again. Spoiler. I knew that. Spoiler. I went first. My Immortal Alaris ran out to the center because I was like, you know what? Come and kill me. What do you got? You can't shoot me to death.
Not a great deal, actually, with Space Wolves going to deal with that.
No. And if I don't have damage equals 1, the Vindicator goes. Damage equals 1, the Vindicator goes. It's like a water gun. Like, he had scouts there. I advanced out. I can't kill the scouts, but I'm just sitting out in the open, daring him to try to deal with him. He had a small unit of Thunderwolves as well back there, but I was like, you know what? This is good for me. It was really good for me when he drew area denial, and he has to kill the immortal Alaris twice, who's standing on the dead center of the table. So I think I ended up giving a challenger card round 2 because he couldn't score anything. He dropped the big unit of Termies behind that, just off of the center objective, kind of hidden back behind that 5x10 terrain. He rapid ingresses turn 2, coming after Canis, and I kind of set up a spot where it was going to be a little bit long for the wolves. He was Gladius, so he has advance. I thought he was going to send the wolf in. I wanted him to send the wolf into the bike because he kills 1, maybe 2. They're not good into the bikes, but they really do a number on Canis. And I got some screening with sisters there to make it really hard for him to get into Canis. I kind of give him the bikes. He rapid ingresses Logan behind, and he does his charges. I've again got a giant fistful of CP. He's got me vected. I've got him vected in that spot. The Wolfen end up getting summoned to Canis into the sisters, and he ends up into the bikes a little bit too, which was a mistake on his side. And then he got Logan in. I managed to pay the painful price in rapid. I interrupted. Canis dies. He totally kills Canis. But the end result is I've decimated Logan's squad. I've killed most of the Wolfen. He gets Canis and sisters. On my turn, with just flyover mortals, I lift Logan. I finish Logan off and remove the Wolfen. And my bikes have now bounced at the end of his fight phase, have killed his units, and are... oh no, I didn't quite do that. I had to bounce out, and I had on my movement, I ended up killing Logan. So I actually had to get out of combat with my bounce moves, but just little shimmy overs on my turn 3 wiped out both of his squads, and I'm now out in his face. I've killed his Vindicator. I've now killed his Pred after the charges. I've put my big Alaris brick into Arjack's Termy brick. Come on, flat 4 on the axe. That was painful. I precision out Arjack and kill a couple of his Termies with my Alaris squad. And naturally, he makes Arjax fight on death. He makes most of the Termies fight on death. Whacks most of my Alaris squad. Like, it's painful. I'm like, ooh, I think I've got this, but this is now going a little dicier because I wanted to snipe Arjack out before my bikes rolled into them so he couldn't fight on death.
Was he in Beast Slayer? Was he in Beast Slayer?
No, he was running Gladius.
Oh, so I feel like Beast Slayer would have been better into you.
It would have been, yeah. Beast Slayer with the lethals, I think, would have been better into me. But he was so Gladius advance and charge was huge for him.
Yeah, I run the Space Wolf and I run them in Gladius currently.
Yeah, he was in GTF on him, and I ended up then winning that, and then the head takers come in, and we all just kerfluffle, and I end up with just my immortal Alaris ends up just literally hacking a unit of Thunderwolves to death slowly. He just sits there and chops through them, holding them off the objective.
You love a clusterfuck, don't you, Lee? You love
it was. And I had just like a bunch of single model units holding center. The bottom right, his expansion was the first to disappear. So I ended up getting 16 on the big turn. And then I ended up holding center. So I swung primary 31 points. I basically had almost tabled him at that point. But it was just, I got the resource advantage and the extra mobility to get where I needed to go. And it just was enough to keep models on the objectives and just stop him from getting there.
So at this point, we're looking into round 5, and you're looking good.
I am 4-0. I am ecstatic, man. I have now hit my bar for the tournament. I really go in and think I expect to do a 3-2. I'm looking for my 4-1s. Like, that's my good day.
So now you're at a point where you're going into Crucible of Battle and Terraform, and not a terrible map again. Very nice, and this isn't a terrible UKTC map.
Actually,
either.
Sorry, this one wasn't 6. This was layout 1 again.
Layout 1. Okay,
this was layout 1 again. So the same exact layout, and I'm running into Garrett DeFera's the identical Trimble list that I played already. Yep. So it's ended up being in the same layout 1 deployment actually. because the whole tournament had layout 1 and layout 6, and just depending on the table you got paired into.
So you went. Was it tipping point, and what was the mission?
It was
Was
it was Terraform.
Oh, it was Terraform.
It was Terraform. I think it was tipping point. Yeah, it was Terraform. And I'm running into Garrett. Garrett is a super good player. I swear I play him in every big event I go to. He's running the exact same Morty's Hammer list. Luckily, the only good thing I have here is it's not actually Steve Trimble piloting it, because he is also undefeated, but he got the pair down because of.
So did you play? You played the same Death Guard list twice.
The same guard list twice, named after the guy I narrowly dodged who's in the same tournament, who is also undefeated with it.
And you also played Eldari twice.
Twice, yep. I played Eldari, Death Guard, Wolves, Death Guard.
What a run. No one can say you had it easy.
No, it wasn't like I drew. The Wolves were like the one I was like, okay, I think I got this. He's a good player, but I'm like, I think I got this matchup, right? Eldari, I'm like, this is losable. Like the Death Guard, I'm like, this is what I didn't want to run until round 5. And I had joked with Garrett that we were going to be 4-0 and run into each other. And I was like, we'll just draw, right?
So you get so I'm assuming at this point you've gone into the same list again. So the game plan is almost similar, but you're playing Terraform, which is a little bit more holdy. We'll just get that map up again.
So and my learning, I got to apply my learnings from game 3, and I also thought about the list, really reflected on my matchup, the mistakes I made with my positioning turn 1, and I was like, man, I'm like, I laugh. I'm probably gonna go first again. At this point, it's a running joke. I've gone first every single game. I think I haven't rolled lower than a 5 on my turn 1 dice. For my go first dice. It's my best die rolls of the whole tournament, where I think my rolls to go first. Ironically, I think I ended up deploying first and losing that roll off every single match, and then winning go first. But so I deployed similar. I spaced out a little bit. I made sure that he wasn't hitting multiple units if he went first with his PBCs. I wasn't going to get mortaled too badly. And then I just tried to full send. I zipped up the board where I could. I got some charges off. I think by turn 2, I think I'd killed both Mythic Blight Haulers. I think I killed a bloat drone on turn 2. And I think I'd wiped 2 units of his Poxwalkers. And what really helped me, and this is where I spiked my dice a little bit and didn't have to do something dumb with my assassin to make it happen. My 4 Witch Seekers that were on the north scouted out. They move out and they can draw a line of sight and get within 12 of his Poxwalkers that had infiltrated. And I managed to just spike my hits, +1 to wound. I mean, and I ended up just yeeting a bucket full of dice and end up basically killing off those Poxwalkers, which was just huge for me. Because now I'm not getting stickied. He's not terraforming anything. I didn't terraform anything right out of the gate, but I ended up building where I was terraforming 2 to his 1 most of the game is what happened. I've got my Immortal Alaris down south. He's just kind of trying to cause some issues. He baited a Blight Hauler and a Bloat Drone out. My bikes were able to, I was able to kind of shoot and kill 2 Blight Haulers and a Bloat Drone, which got me the material advantage I needed. But then again, I hoarded CP and I just prepared for the drop. Because again, two units of Death Shroud with Lords of Contagion, and 3rd unit of Death Shroud coming up. He actually rapid ingressed the leaderless Death Shroud to steal my home on turn 2, and he got it. He got my home. He terraformed it. He keeps it all game. I think he drew a cleanse, which meant he kept that 1/2 at one point. So he ended up keeping him back there just to keep holding my home and keep scoring it. And then he played it a little better on the drop. He didn't let me get an interrupt. He ended up killing the first life of the Immortal Alaris with a tank shock. which annoyed the crap out of me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Because then I'm not engaged. I've got no interrupt. He ends up fighting first. He does not go after Canis at all. Canis took 3 wounds the whole thing. It was a splash mortal from a PBC. Canis was untouched. So he ignored Canis and went after the bikes. He dropped the 1 Lord of Contagion and the Death Shroud. They went into the bikes, and did he get 2? But it ended up, I don't think he did. I think he got 1 and left 1 and like 1 wound again or something like that, or on 2 wounds. So he ended up having a little bit of a poor swing into them, and I ended up making a few extra saves. So all of a sudden I've got more material, and I end up zipping forward. And then it's really turn 4. I've unleashed the lions with my deep strike unit. I've got literally the entire game I have single models all over the place. And will he with a couple of PBCs and a bloat drone and stuff kill enough? And at that north expansion objective, I've got the assassin and I've got a lone Alaris. And he moves up, he gets within range. The assassin eventually dies to mortals. And that lone Alaris, I think he made 7 of 8 saves. And then Garrett never pinged the mortals on him. And he lived. He held me that objective. I managed to just kill enough of stuff. Canis did Canis things. The lone Adana Mortis axe guy goes and starts yeeting into vehicles, which he does. He's happy to go on his own with +1 to wound. Swinging into Death Guard vehicles is okay. And I ended up just getting enough ahead that he couldn't swing it at the end. Again, I think we re-wrecked that game. I don't win 5.
So the stars aligned then for those Death Guard matchups.
It was crazy.
Unfortunately, I don't think you necessarily have the same success on the UKT setup, specifically because I think the bikes just work way better in the GW maps.
I think they do. I agree. I think they do, right? Like if I was playing UKTC, I'm probably like I probably run Venatari over them. I'm probably starting them on the board most of the time, maybe. Like I'm probably doing more of that stuff. I see where like you just have to warden brick up more. Like there's no way you hold center on some of these maps without a warden unit for a turn.
It's why also you find Valerian so useful in this.
Yeah, because they're running. People are going to run nasty melee against you. -1 AP and melee ends up kind of raining on their parade a little bit.
And that's your central piece. That's the unit you want in the middle.
Yeah.
I think, Lee, we've it's been amazing to talk to you about these maps because you did really, really well. So congratulations, you are running the flag. If we don't get the buff that we deserve, remember this face.
Yep. Thanks for having me. This is a blast. Anytime you want to.
No, it'd be great. It'd be great to have you on again. Look, we want to talk to finally. We want to talk to everybody about our wonderful Discord community that me and Lee have been looking after for coming up for a year now. And essentially, it's a great community. It's filled with top players. There's TTS battles happening now, and it is very well moderated. We big on respect, big on treating people equally. We have absolutely no time. No, yeah, don't be a dick. Which is basically the Black Crow Gaming motto. Yeah, which is it's a Black Crow Gaming owned Discord, but it is it is there for Adeptus Custodes. It is there to talk about Adeptus Custodes. I'm not overselling the Black Crow. It was literally just about talking about it, and then I come in and be like, hey, I'm doing this. All I want people to do is to go on there and to be able to talk about something they're passionate about. And there's TTS now starting to really get popular on there with people playing TTS games. I think there's a league in discussion at the minute. They're trying to do a league.
So like a league style tournament. Yeah, I actually have to go post that. I should do that tonight. which
is coming up, which will be interesting. Maybe I deliberately go in and don't run Custodes just to mess with everyone.
So the plan is, so it's not all mirrors, is everyone has to come in with a Custodes and a non-Custodes list, and you don't know which one you're going to be running in that match.
Oh, maybe I'll just come in and I can run my, because I ended up having quite a lot of people watch me last time I played TTS with my Custodes, and I went into Knights and I absolutely tabled this poor Knights player who was also a Custody player in the Custody Discord. So it's I think actually for Custodies and the Knights matchup is quite favourable, but that's a different conversation. Look, it's been great having you. There'll be, comment if you're at the event and you're seeing Lee there. Tell us how he did. All love, because he's been amazing to have you on, Lee. You've been a great guest. Thank you for joining me for the Adeptus Custodes Black Crow tactics video, and we've got to hear all about your wonderful, crazy, weird list which actually. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I'll play that list because I think I'd enjoy it on WTC.
It's a ton of fun. So, I mean, I've been running weird shit for a while, right? Like, yeah. I've been saying bikes have play. I'm playing on GW, so it's a little better. But like, I've been talking up Alaris and bikes for a while. I mean, that's what I built a list around it in Auric and was doing solid 3 and 2s at GTs against real quality players. You could do it. I was having fun making it work because I don't really want to run Warden bricks, so I don't. But like, it has play. All this D3, like in the Death Guard list, those bloat drone, like the standard list just does not beat down if you're playing against an equal skilled opponent. You are going to lose most of the games. I was fast enough and had ugly breakpoints on wounds and against their D3 damage that I had just enough juice for lightning to actually strike twice and pull out the W. So
you did great, mate. Well done, and thank you for coming and joining us. And we'll hopefully get you on soon.
Thank you much. Have a good one.
I've been Arron for Black Crow Gaming. Thank you, everybody. Take care.